Good morning, YouTubians. It's Kermit's Ghost. It is Monday, the 6th of January 2025. Here we are, 10 years after Back to the Future 2 was set. Time's moving far too quickly. Welcome to a new Blu-ray hunting year. Hopefully, we'll see a huge variety of movies put onto Blu-ray discs in the next 12 months. Fingers crossed. Today, I'll be heading to HMV to film the latest releases, plus I'll purchase a Costa Coffee latte along the way. Not a sponsor. Now, around 2 weeks ago, I received a parcel from Imprint Films, which I'll be talking about later in the video. There will be a link in the description below to their website. Be sure to visit. Plus, I picked up a TV show, which I will be featuring in the conclusion. Now, as for gifts, Christmas and birthday, because they were close together for me, I'll incorporate those in videos over the next few weeks rather than showing everything at once, because I'm sure you don't want to see me waffling on for over an hour. So with all that said and done, I'll see you all in Costa. Let's go. My Costa coffee in a takeaway cup. Did you know the takeaway cup was invented in 1908 by a Boston lawyer called Lawrence Llewellyn? And a Heath cup, as it was known then, was to stop the spread of germs. So you could argue I'm actually saving the NHS by going with this option. So I'm about to go into HMV, but before I get to the brand new titles, I found a few titles that came out last week, starting with Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Swordsmith Village Arc Season 4. It's got a runtime of 317 minutes, and this sees Tanjiro face a new battle with his new comrades. £29.99 for this release today. Next is Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Mugden Train Arc Season 2. This sees Tanjiro and his comrades face a new mission on the Mugden train where over 40 people have disappeared. This 2-disc set has a runtime of 168 minutes and is priced at £24.99. The Rubber-Keyed Wonder, 40 Years of the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. It's a documentary written and directed by Anthony and Nicola Caulfield, and it tells the story of the ZX Spectrum and its inventor, Sir Clive Sinclair. This is priced at £12.99. As a bit of a filler, before we get to new releases, I'll have a look at the end caps, a few display units, and the cabinets, and I'll pop some music over before I talk about the new titles. Enjoy. Okay, so on to new releases. I'm going to start with Seven. This is a 4K digipack of the 1995 crime thriller, which stars Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt as detectives who are trying to solve a number of grisly murders. This comes with additional and extended scenes and alternate ending, as well as 4 audio commentaries. £24.99 for this movie today. The Quick and the Dead next on 4K. This is a Western from 1995. It's directed by Sam Raimi. It's got a great cast, which includes Sharon Stone, Russell Crowe, Leonardo DiCaprio, Gene Hackman, Lance Hendrickson, Tobin Bell, Gary Sinise and Bruce Campbell. £22.99 for this release today.
Rampo Noir next. This is a Japanese anthology film. The first story is called Mars Canal, which is about lost loves, followed by Mirror Hell, which is a murder mystery, then Caterpillar, about a war hero who's tortured by his wife upon his return, and finally Crawling Bugs, about an actress who is taken by force by her obsessed chauffeur. £17.99 for this Arrow release. The Usual Suspects next on Blu-ray. This is a 1995 crime thriller which is told in flashbacks during a police interview of a suspect in a multi-million-dollar heist, plus a search for a mythic crime lord called Kaiser Sose. It's directed by Brian Singer and it stars Stephen Baldwin, Gabriel Byrne, Kevin Pollak, Kevin Spacey, Pete Postlethwaite, Giancarlo Esposito and Benicio del Toro. £17.99 for this release today. Oddity next, an Irish horror written and directed by Damien McCarthy. The wife of a psychiatrist is murdered in a country house, and a year later her twin sister, who has psychometric abilities, visits and plans to get to the bottom of the mysterious killing. This is priced at £12.99. Beazle next. This is an independent horror film from last year that was co-written and directed by Aaron Fradkin, and it tells the story of Beazle, the blind witch who lives under a house and likes to eat people. Made using practical effects. What more could you ask for? This is priced at £14.99 and it carries an 18 certificate. The Apprentice next. This is a 2-hour biographical drama starring Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump, the ex and future president of the United States of America. This is set in the 1970s and the 1980s, where he was a real estate businessman in New York City. Apparently, Donald Trump's legal team tried to have this film blocked before the election campaign, but obviously they failed to do so. This is priced at £14.99. Let's take a quick look in CEX and see what they've got. Despicable Me 4 for £10, that is a saving of a fiver on both Amazon and HMV. Die Hard on 4K for £18, that's £20 in HMV, £22 on Amazon, so that's a £2 to £4 saving. Fifth Element 4K for £12, that's £20 on Amazon, same for HMV. Here we have Age of Consent for £8. It's a tenner in HMV, same for Amazon, so a saving of just £2. Dare Gollum limited edition for £18, which is now out of print. The standard release is £14, so that's a pretty good deal. Night Train Murders for £22. This is long out of print. You can get this new on Amazon for £61 or used for £20, so make your own mind up there. Night of the Demon for £18. You can get this directly from Indicator's website for £13, same as Amazon. Miracle Fighters for £25. Save yourself a fiver, get it from Amazon brand new. Here we have Safety Not Guaranteed for £28. This is £25 used on Amazon. It's now unavailable in HMV as it's out of print. Very good film, by the way. Orca the Killer Whale. This is an Australian release. It's an Umbrella Entertainment film, which does have an audio commentary that the UK release lacks. So £12 is a pretty good deal for this one. Oddly enough, they also had this release from Kino Lorber, which shouldn't be on the shelves of CEX as it doesn't have an age rating, and it being a Kino Lorber release is Region A locked. Film itself is The Offence, which is a pretty good movie. And here we have Total Recall, the limited edition steelbook exclusive to HMV for £3. This actually goes for £60 on Amazon, no longer available in HMV because it's out of print. And here is Tentacles for £15, same brand new from Amazon, and it's the same from HMV and 88 Films. Rhubarb and Custard, the complete collection for £20. This goes for £35 on Amazon, same for HMV, so a saving of £15. That is a solid bargain if it's your kind of thing. Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings for £15. It's the same price for a new copy in Amazon and HMV, and I've checked and they do have a copy in Brighton's HMV. The Last Kingdom, the complete series for £32. It's £60 on Amazon, same as HMV, so a saving of £28. Box is tatty, but it's a good price. Inglourious Basterds limited edition for £3, and believe it or not, you can get this from Amazon for £6. I guess they made a lot of these limited editions then. It's a saving of £3, but the box on this is pretty knackered.
Hey everybody, welcome back. So there's 2 items to show you today. One is sent by Imprint Films. It contains 4 movies, and one is a TV miniseries which I picked up over Christmas. So I'm not going to show all the Christmas gifts today because that would be ridiculous. There's like a dozen films and like a dozen seasons of various TV shows. So I'm going to try and incorporate them as I go through the weeks ahead. So I'm just going to talk about these today. There's plenty to talk about, so let's crack on with it. Okay, first title is Carry On Collection 4. It's the first time these movies have ever been put onto Blu-ray worldwide. Brilliant to see These are still being released. I love these movies. Grew up with these. They were a staple on TV throughout the 70s and 80s. In fact, they still pop up from time to time. There were a few on over Christmas, if I recall, a testament to their popularity. I watched these multiple times. I did rewatch this for the purpose of this video. This box set arrived on my doorstep day before Christmas Eve, so I waited till the 27th before I opened it so I can concentrate on it. 4 movies in this. Don't Lose Your Head, Follow That Camel, Carry On Doctor, and Carry On Up the Khyber. Don't Lose Your Head and Follow That Camel. They didn't have the Carry On prefix at first. That was added by Rank Organisation, which I used to work for many moons ago, when it was re-released because of the success of the Carry On franchise. Anyway, let's take a look at the box set itself, and then we'll look at the films. So on that cover, on the top right, we have an image of Sid James, and underneath Sid, we have Barbara Windsor. He would have liked that. Babs, if you prefer. Under Babs, we have Phil Silvers, and under Phil, we have Bernard Bresslaw. And then moving over to the top right, we have Frankie Howard. Under Frankie, we have Joan Sims, and under Joan, we have Kenneth Williams. On the spine, we have the titles of the films included in this set, and then on the back, we have a couple of paragraphs on the Carry On franchise, as well as the name of comedy actors who appeared that were not regular Carry On crew. And under that, there's a list of special features, which includes audio commentaries, several episodes of the Carry On Laughing Show, plus interviews. So that being said and done, let's talk about the films. Okay, first film out of this box set, despite the prefix being removed, is Carry On, Don't Lose Your Head. It's from 1967. It's the 13th film in the franchise. Directed by Gerald Thomas, who directed all the films in this set, and is set in Paris in 1789. This sees Kenneth Williams playing the character of Citizen Camembert. He's a French revolutionary leader who's having the heads of the aristocracy removed at an alarming rate. This is set during the French Revolution, by the way. Camembert has a faithful sidekick called Bidet, being played by Peter Butterworth. And then meanwhile, at the same time this is happening, across the English Channel, we have 2 posh toffs from London. Got Sir Rodney Fling being played by Sid James, and Lord Darcy Pugh being played by Jim Dale. And they're bored with the constant partying, socialising. So for a bit of excitement, Fling and Pugh, they head to France to aid the rich who are being targeted by Camembert, and hopefully try to inject some desperately needed excitement into their lives. Now, whilst in France, Fling adopts a new identity, and he now goes by the name of the Black Fingernail. And it isn't long before the Black Fingernail and Pugh are causing all kinds of issues for Camembert and Bidet. And when the Black Fingernail tricks Camembert and Bidet and the executioner during an important beheading, it becomes a game of cat and mouse. Even to the point of Camembert adopting his own disguise and heading to England to try and capture the Black Fingernail and Pugh. Now, I won't say any more story-wise, but there is plenty more going on in this one. Also stars Charles Hawtrey and Joan Sims, but there's no Barbara Windsor in this, no Kenneth Connor, and there's no Hattie Jakes either. Music in this, as in with all the films, is by Eric Rogers. Picture quality on this was flawless, and it's got a runtime of 1 hour 31 minutes. Let's take a look inside. On the reverse of the cover, we have a screenshot from the film, and the front cover image has been put onto the disc. So that was Carry On, Don't Lose Your Head. The next film to show you, and I've added the prefix, is Carry On, Follow That Camel, the 14th film in the franchise, also from 1967. But this time we start off in England, 1906, during a cricket match where Bertram West is accused of cheating, Bertram being played by Jim Dale. As a result of being falsely accused of cheating, Bertram impulsively joins the French Foreign Legion, taking his manservant Simpson with him, Simpson being played by Peter Butterworth. Now, the reason why Bertram was accused of cheating in the first place was down to a love rival just trying to dishonour him, but he later confesses, and Lady Jane Ponsonby, the woman they're both trying to woo, sets off to find Bertram and bring him back home to England. Jane, by the way, is played by Angela Douglas. Now, at the French Foreign Legion fort, which is called 69, wink wink, we have Commander Berger being played by Kenneth Williams, and his right-hand man, Lapice, being played by Charles Hawtrey. Also at the fort, we have Sergeant Knocker being played by Phil Silvers. Now, Phil was brought on to the Carry On movies to try and entice an American audience to the franchise, and I've listened to the audio commentary. It was said that Phil Silvers was suffering from memory loss, and it made it very difficult for him to learn his lines, and he had to have cue cards held up behind the camera so he could just read them out when the time came. On top of that, he was paid 6 times that of his co-stars, plus perks as well, which really annoyed the regulars on the Carry On cast, and rightly so. Yeah, I won't say any more story-wise, but we'll also mention it stars Brian Bresslaw as Abdul Abubul. He is always trying to attack the fort. There's also Jane Sims as Zigzag, the cafe owner, and there's also Anita Harris as Cork Tip. She's a belly dancer at Zigzag's Cafe. This one's got a runtime of 1 hour 35 minutes. Let's take a look inside. And on the reverse of the cover, we have a screenshot from the film. And despite Phil Silvers not knowing his lines, he has fantastic comic timing anyway, and he was a great addition to this film. And again, the front cover image has been put onto the disc. So that was Carry On, Follow That Camel. Okay, next we have Carry On Doctor, again from 1967. Peter Rogers, the producer, was really knocking these out quickly. I'll talk about Peter a little bit later in the video, the skinflint. Now, joining the Carry On regulars, we have Frankie Howerd as Francis Bigger. He is a faith healer who falls off the stage whilst giving a lecture requiring him to go to hospital. The ambulance trip to that is so funny. So the film is set in a hospital, and on the men's ward we have Sid James playing the character of Charlie Roper. He does everything he can to not be discharged because he has a very nagging wife at home. Next we've got Bernard Bresslaw. He's playing Ken Biddle. He has his appendix out and he spends most of his time trying to flirt with Mavis, who is on the women's ward. Mavis being played by Dilys Lay. Charles Hawtrey, he's in this. He's in there because his wife has given birth to their first child and he has extreme sympathy pains. Doctors wise, we have Jim Dell. He's playing the very handsome, very popular Dr. Kilmore, and Dr. Kilmore is assigned to Mr. Bigger, and I should point out that Dr. Kilmore is rather accident prone. As for the nurses, we have Nurse Clark being played by Anita Harris, who was the belly dancer in Follow That Camel, and also Nurse Clark has a thing for Dr. Kilmore. The ward's matron is being played by Hattie Jakes, who is back after a 4-year break from the franchise. And matron is in love with the chief surgeon of the hospital, Dr. Tinkle, Dr. Kenneth Tinkle, being played by Kenneth Williams. And Tinkle has an awful bedside manner. As for the story, we have Dr. Tinkle and matron. They're trying to get Dr. Kilmore sacked, and the patients revolt and try to have him reinstated. Also stars Peter Butterworth as a patient who has a hernia. We've got Jane Sims as Mr. Bigger's long-suffering assistant Chloe Gibson, who is madly in love with Mr. Bigger. And last but not least, you've got Barbara Windsor as the fresh-faced, sexy nurse Sandra May. And she is also infatuated with Dr. Tinkle, but she is a big distraction for the male patients, especially Sid James. A lot of people's favourite, this one, and I can see why. This one's got a runtime of 1 hour, 35 minutes. Let's take a look inside. On the reverse of the cover, we have a screenshot from the film. And the front cover image has been put onto the disc. So that was Carry On Doctor. Just want to interject and say the picture quality on these discs are very good. They're very crisp. First time ever they've been put out in high definition. Plus, you've got to bear in mind these films are made on a shoestring budget as well. Producer probably never expected these to be shown in high definition. So what I'm trying to say is this is as good as it gets, or possibly ever will be. And Imprint Films are the only company putting these classics out for you to buy. So if you want them on Blu-ray, then I suggest you get them before eventually they go out of print, because they probably will at some point. Okay, last film in this box set is Carry On Up the Khyber. It's from 1968. It's the 16th film in this franchise, and it's set in India at the Khyber Pass in 1895. You have Kenneth Williams playing the Qazi of Calabar. He despises the British occupation in India, and in particular one man sent by Queen Victoria as a governor, Sir Sidney Rough Diamond, being played by Sid James, and his bored wife Lady Joan, being played by Jane Sims. Now, guarding the Khyber Pass, which is on the Silk Road, which is a vital trade route between India and Central Asia, is the 3rd Foot and Mouth Highland Regiment, who in the film wear kilts and nothing underneath, which is actually key to the story, because the Qazi, he wants to start a rebellion against the English when it's discovered that the regiment does in fact wear underwear. And this is all because of a Private James Whittle, who's being played by Charles Hawtrey. He's thin, he feels the cold more than the other soldiers, and he actually wears his underwear whilst on duty, which is discovered by a Berber chief being played by Bernard Bresslaw. He discovers this when Whittle faints at a checkpoint and he has a peep underneath his kilt. I should also point out the regiment is feared by the locals because of the lack of underwear worn by the kilted soldiers. They actually refer to them as the devils in skirts. There are several other subplots going on. You've got the Qazi's daughter, Jelly, being played by Angela Douglas, in her 4th and final Carry On appearance. She's in love with the regiment's captain, Captain Keane, being played by Roy Castle. Plus Lady Rough Diamond Francis, the Qazi of Calabar. I won't say any more story-wise, but I will also mention it stars Peter Butterworth as a missionary preacher. You've also got Terry Scott as a sergeant major. This disc actually contains an audio commentary by Peter Rogers. He was a notorious skinflint and a tightwad, I would say, despised by all the actors in the Carry On franchise. He wouldn't let the cast do multiple takes as he deemed it a waste of money in film. One take was enough for him. Everything was on a low budget. He also paid the main Carry On crew one flat rate, which means they never increased throughout the whole franchise. Plus, wherever possible, he tried to film within half a mile of the studios, because if he ventured out further, then by law he had to pay for the actors to be transported and also provide catering as well. So almost everything was shot in and around Pinewood Studios. Peter also held the image rights to all the actors' characters as well. So if he had any merchandise, he had all the profit. He was an absolute Scrooge. It's got a runtime of 1 hour 29 minutes. Let's take a look inside. So on the reverse of the cover, we have a screenshot from the film, and the front cover image has been put onto the disc. So that was Carry On Up the Khyber. So that was Carry On Collection 4, and I love these films, so thank you so much to Imprint Films for sending these over for me to show on my channel. I really do appreciate it. I do have the other 3 up on the shelves, and I'll show them all together now so you can compare the spines. Almost forgot to mention, there will be a link in the description below as to where you can order this set from, so follow the link in the description as to where you can pick this up for yourself. In Collection 1 we have Carry On Sergeant, Nurse, Teacher and Constable. In Collection 2 we have Carry On Regardless, Cruising, Cabby and Jack. Collection 3 we have Carry On Spying, Cleo, Cowboy and Screaming. And Collection 4 we have Carry On Don't Lose Your Head, Follow That Camel, Doctor and Up the Khyber. Next and last is the Continental, a 3-part TV miniseries which aired on Amazon Prime last year, set in New York in the 1970s in the John Wick universe. Actually opens in 1955, where we're introduced to 2 young petty criminal brothers, Winston and Frankie, and then we cut to the 70s where they're grown up and they live in different countries. You got Frankie Scott being played by Ben Robson, who has remained in New York, but his brother Winston is being played by Colin Woodall, now lives in London. Winston would go on to be played by Ian McShane in the John Wick franchise. 2 brothers, Frankie and Winston, they're raised by Cormac, who currently runs the Continental Hotel in New York in the 70s. Cormac being played by Mel Gibson. And he's not the best role model for the boys. He actually raises them as criminals, and Frankie has a bright idea of breaking into the vault, the basement of the Continental Hotel, to steal the gold coin press on the high table during a New Year's Eve party, which ends in a spectacular shootout. And Cormac's not very pleased by this. He wants to press his back, even if it means Frankie's killed in the process. And he has Winston kidnapped in London and brought back to New York to try and track down his brother. And so the show is in motion. I won't say any more story-wise, but we all know that Winston makes that alive because, as I stated, he is the Continental Hotel's manager in the John Wick franchise. So that's 50 years later, so we know he survives. Now, if you like the John Wick universe, this should appeal to you. But if you're expecting the films, then I think you're going to be a little bit disappointed. It's a few shootouts to keep you entertained, but like with most TV shows, this has character development, backstory, and a whole heap of varying faces to remember. The look and the feel of the show is very nice. So it does capture the look of New York from that era to some degree of accuracy, and by that I mean it's grimy and violent. Each episode varies a little bit from 1 hour 20 to 1 hour 40, making an overall runtime of 262 minutes. Let's take a look inside. So each disc has the same image and there's no episode guide inside, but as there's only 3 episodes, wasn't really expected. So that was the Continental. So that was it. Have you seen any of those? Do you plan to pick them up or just want to leave a comment? Then do so down below. I will read every single one and try to reply if I have the time. Give the video a thumbs up, really does help the channel, and subscribe if you haven't. It's all free. Why wouldn't you? And on that note, all that's left to say is thank you so much for choosing my channel today and watching my video. Take care. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.